Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews. And today we're going to be reviewing the new album from Anaal Nathrakh titled Endarkenment. So we've listened to this album for a week non-stop. Vile, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I like the album. I was digging it through and through. Finding little bits of things here and there that I was like, that's pretty cool, that's pretty cool. But there are gripes, as there usually is with albums. I'm gonna get my biggest gripe out of the way first, and that is track number 5, Beyond Words. I found this track was way too much a ripoff of The Reek of Fear, off of the previous album. And every time it came on, I felt like I was just listening to an unfinished demo version of that song. It got to the point where I was skipping it. I just didn't want to listen to it. It was just, there's nothing good about the track at all for me. It's just kind of like a fucking wall of noise. Reek of Fear actually was a good song though. It's like they took this and expanded on an added flavor to it to make it an actual appealing song. This is not that. This is the basic garbage.
But that's pretty much how we both felt about that song last week.
Right. So, but I'm just saying, after a week of listening
it did not
to
really
it,
change for you.
It went worse. It got worse for me. I just kept going, this is just so bad. This is so bad.
For me, that song got slightly better.
Ooh.
And I really say slightly because I listened to it and I'm like, oh, the screams are kind of cool sounding, but that's it. Other than that, I did not care about that song at all.
Right. So, aside from that, a couple more small gripes before I start getting into the good stuff. Some of you people might not know this, so I'll just say this is actually a two-piece band, right? So you got a vocalist and then you got the guy that does basically everything else. The drums are programmed. Now I don't have that much hard feeling against programmed drums. My harsh feeling towards the drums is the fact that it's very stagnantly programmed. There's not a lot of stuff going on with the drums. And that is, I guess, you know, it makes sense since there's no real drummer doing it. When you got a real drummer playing, they've been playing for a long time. They know how to put these little accents in here and there and make it sound just, you know, flavorful. I think I used that word already, but I'll use it again. Just adds dynamics to the playing and it makes the sound of the songs more enjoyable. This is like, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's furious, but it's just that all over and over and over again. There's not that many rolls, there's not that many fills, there's not that many accents or ghost notes or anything fancy. Not that it really should be, but I felt like it was stagnant, right? So that was something that bugged me a little bit. The last thing that was a little bit of a bug for me was that not many songs hit the real mark for me. The album as a whole is pretty good, but only, how many tracks is there? 10? And I just omitted one of them, which was track number 5. So we'll say out of 9 tracks, 3 of them really kind of spoke out to me. The rest are good songs, but they're just there for me. They didn't really like speak to me in any special way. So aside from that, you know what, I'll talk a little bit about what I liked and then I'll pass it to you because I don't want to talk too long. The song that grew on me the most and the song that became my favorite song was track number 7, Create Art, Though the World May Perish. This song, I feel like it just has some of the best riffing on the album. I love the transition between the high and low vocals, the clean vocals in the choruses. This is where this guy's sweet spot is. This is where his strengths are. He's a man of 1,000 voices. He does all kinds of voices, does them all very, very well. But his mid-tone cleans are so fucking good, so fucking catchy, and just so appealing to my ear that I almost wish the entire album was done like that. Then again, if it were, I might regret saying that. But it's just, in this song specifically, he just does it so well, and he does it in the chorus. He's singing his lyrics or whatever. Then he even goes up a half octave, which to me was really cool. It almost sounds a bit like a key change, not quite. He doesn't go full octave, it's just a half octave. And just something subtle like that just makes that, the melodic part of that song just sounds so much better to me. So track number 7 really grew on me. Awesome song, best song of the album for me. Really like it.
Well, you know, I find it interesting that I actually have similar gripes to you with this album. Now, we already just kind of talked about Beyond Words and how we're both not really a fan of that song and it just feels kind of eh. But the drums, I was noticing throughout the week how stagnant they were and how every song kind of just did the same thing. There's only 2 songs on this album that I actually noticed the drums do something that wasn't just, you know, a wall of sound for like 4 minutes. And those were Libidinous and the final track, Requiem. They do a little bit of different stuff, break it up a little bit with the drums, and I like that. And I wish there was a little bit more of that on this album, because that would make the crazy stuff better, because there's not as much of it. That's the problem. When you have, you know, all the crazy sounding drums that they program, all right, cool. But when, you know, 8 out of 10 tracks are just that, it loses a lot of the luster, and it's not the same. It feels like, okay, this again, all right, next, you know? So that was one of my issues. Another one of the issues I had is that this album just did not feel very memorable for me. I can't really talk about too much of this album that really stuck out to me, because there wasn't much. I'd put this album on and I'd try to look for things that just really grabbed me, and there was barely anything, to be honest. The first track I liked. Overall, I feel like it had a really good bite to it, and I liked the melodies in it as well. Like, overall, I think that's a strong track.
Yeah, agreed.
I also enjoyed the second track as well, Thus Always to Tyrants. That, I think, is a good example of them doing all the super crazy stuff and having it feel fresh, and I think a big part of why that is because it's track number 2. If that track was track number 8, I don't think I'd feel the same. Because you hear that song so early in the album that you're not tired of that kind of stuff yet. Yeah. When you hear that over and over throughout the album, you're going to start to get tired of it.
Exactly.
Which is what was happening to me.
Fatigue factor.
So one small thing about that song that really jumped out to me, though, is right before the second verse starts, you hear this sound effect in the background. I don't know what it really was. It's just some, not even a screech, just something that honestly sounded like the Pokemon Staraptor. If you know what that is, from Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, honestly, listen to that Pokemon's cry and you'll hear it. Because it stood out to me like early on. I'm like, I heard this before. What was that?
Yeah, he showed it to me. It sounds almost exactly like that Pokemon.
Totally what it sounds like. It's so weird. Maybe they sampled it and changed the pitch. Who knows? But overall, though, I wasn't finding too much of this album really standing out to me very much.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hate to draw the comparisons much, but compared to A New Kind of Horror, I listened back to that album, and there's multiple moments from that album that I thought were great.
Yeah, super strong.
Lots of memorable moments. I can look back at that and say, yeah, that was great, and that song had that, and that had that. I look at this album, and a good chunk of it, I'm just like, it's kind of there. Nothing really stood out. But I can't call it a bad album. It's not a poorly made album. It just has a few design issues. The guitar riffs are nice. They're always good with this band. They have good guitar riffs, which sometimes get obscured by the mix a little bit.
Yeah, they're good, but they're also messy. They're almost black metal riffs, which are I don't even call them. They're not really that melodic, right? It's not like a Monomarth riffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not riffs you can like, you know, groove to really, except for certain songs like Libidinous is a much more melodic song in comparison to the rest. It's got more melody to it, and Requiem, which is the last song, has more melody to it. It also has a pretty cool guitar solo-y section in that last song. But the guitar work overall is pretty good. It's got kind of stuff all over the place.
It's interesting you mentioned the melodies like that, because that's one thing I actually commend this album for, is that this band did something a little bit different by putting more melodic songs in it.
Yeah.
This band is no stranger to having melodic stuff in their choruses and such, but I feel like this album does it more than other albums, and I like that, because it means they're thinking, hey, let's try something a little bit different. Because if they didn't do that, it would have just fallen even more flat, because it would have just sounded so like run-of-the-mill for this band. So I really like that they did try to change some things up.
Alright, so what do you rate it?
So this album is not bad. I can't call it bad. Like I said, it's a well put together album, but it suffers from a few design issues. I feel like it's not their best work, but I don't think it's a bad album on its own. So I'm gonna give it a 5.5, because it has some promise to it, but it kind of overall is not really that memorable.
Fair score. Yeah, you know what? I did like the album. It's not like maybe I was a little harsh on it in my wording, I'm not sure. But I do like it. I think it's a pretty good album. It's extreme, it's heavy, it's fast, it's got energy. It's a lot of things that I'm looking for when I'm listening to metal. But it has its flaws, okay? Highlight tracks, Create Art track number 7, Libidinous track number 4, Endarkenment track number 1. You know, those are the 3 highlight tracks for me. I think it's strong. It's a little more than a 5.5 for me. I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I feel like it's a little stronger than the middle of the pack road, because it does have a lot going for it. And I think if I were to spend more than just a week with it, I might find more stuff that I liked. It's just really jam-packed, but it might be too jam-packed to the point where it's really hard to really decipher it all. But I listened to as much as I could, and that's what I got from it. So 6.5 from me, 5.5 from you. Not bad scores. Could have been better, obviously, but it is what it is.
Yep, that's all we got for you guys today. Remember to like the video if you liked it. Tell us in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this album? It's been out for a decent amount of time. Came out at the beginning of the month, so it took us a little bit to get to it. But as always, guys, remember to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish,
And I'm Vile Self.
and we'll see you guys later.